old timers that like the coffee and everything. So, all right, it's 1:20. I'll jump into it, but welcome everyone to the Financial Fraud and Prevention. I'm Fred Moore, if you don't know, by the way, out of the Central Office Wellness Committee. Thank you to Nathan from Washington Department of Financial Institutions for the sharing of the information he's going to provide for us today. So I'll turn it over to Nathan so we can give him maximum time. And thank you very much, Nathan. Yep, go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Frederick, and thank you as well, Grace, for reaching out to us, for hosting us today. I'm going to share my screen here. So as I share my screen, my eyes will be there as I'm reading off the presentation, but the chat is down there. So if there are any questions at any point, just feel free to let me know. I'll do my best to keep an eye on the chat, but if I could get some support in that sense, I would very much appreciate that. So yeah, today's topic is about financial fraud prevention. I'll do a little bit of an overview of DFI, the Department of Financial Institutions, sort of what we do, and then we'll spend a few minutes looking at financial fraud and prevention. So my name, first of all, is Nathan Spiecker. I am the Bilingual Outreach Coordinator here at the Washington State Department of Financial Institutions. I've been here for about a year. And in my role, I have the privilege of partnering with all sorts of nonprofits, civic organizations, schools, senior centers, other state agencies, basically anybody who can bear to listen to my voice and who is interested in learning about personal finances. So here at DFI, we do four main things, which is license, regulate, protect, and educate. It's got a nice little ring to it. We'll go through each one by one, just for a brief overview. Licensing. So as I'm sure many of us know, since we work in state government, we provide licenses for financial service providers. So these financial service providers include banks, they include credit unions, they include financial advisors, stockbrokers, investment advisors, basically anybody whose business it is to make money, moving money, they are included sort of in our list of licensees. You can you can verify a person's license on our website in this middle banner here. There's a little table, and in the top middle, there is a button that says verify license indicated here on the slide with a yellow star. Our website is dfi.wa.gov. So you can verify a license. That's particularly important as we're thinking about working with financial advisors, just because we all work very hard for our money, and that money can disappear very quickly, either through fraud or mismanagement, right? So it's really important that when we're choosing someone to manage our money or to give us advice on what to do with our money, that they have been properly licensed. And you can verify that on our website. Next is regulation. So first of all, if you see it, you can learn about scams by hitting our news and alerts button on our top banner. That's going to be the third option in. If you see something that looks like fraud, please do say something. You can file a complaint, and we'll be able to address that complaint provided they are a licensee. If they are not a licensee, we'd be happy to connect you with the regulatory agency under whose jurisdiction that licensee would be, right? And then you can also find out if we've taken action against a company or a person by clicking our enforcement actions button, sort of in this middle grid of different buttons there on our homepage. Third is to protect. So our kind of tagline is leading the way in consumer protection and financial services regulation. If you hit our laws and enforcements button, which is going to be one of the middle ones on that top banner, you can actually go and see what each one of our divisions enforcement actions have been recently. So here on the screen, I've got a screenshot, a fairly recent screenshot of some enforcement actions by the Division of Consumer Services. Some of the respondents have been lenders, they have been cryptocurrency, money transmitters, other things like that. And then we've got the type of orders. So some examples are statements of charges, consent orders, cease and desist orders. In some cases, we can deny or revoke a license if there has been misconduct on their part. So this is all to protect us, those of us who participate in the financial marketplace here in Washington, which I assume is pretty much every single one of us, right? And then last but not least, we educate. That is my role as the outreach coordinator. You can visit our website, dfi.wa.gov/financial-education. And that will take us to our financial education landing page. And one of our fantastic resources here is the Money Topics A to Z, which will be in your top right-hand corner of the grid. And we've got a variety of personal finance topics on that website, everything from budgeting to credit to basics of investing and home ownership. Lots of good stuff. We've got resources as well for parents and educators. You can look up what sort of local resources are available in your community. And additionally, you can request a presentation from our staff. That's myself and my supervisor, Lynn Peters, although she is starting to focus a little bit more on the responsibilities within her job description and less so on the presentations, which I'm taking over more and more. So we are happy to do these presentations. They're absolutely free of charge. We cover all sorts of topics related to personal finance, including budgeting, credit, fraud prevention, basics of investing, saving, building wealth. And you can request these presentations hopefully as long as there are 5 people or more in attendance. We're happy to travel. We can do virtual and in-person presentations, whichever one works best. And we really do our best to try to bring relevant resources and information to these presentations. So oftentimes at these presentations, I'll have a lot of handouts for people to take home with them so that they can continue this education journey on their own time. Okay, so here's a little screenshot of our Money Topics budgeting webpage, right? You can find more budgeting resources and tools at our webpage. We've got a lot of good information on fraud prevention. So this is our financial scams and frauds Money Topics page, where we see that scams and frauds are listed by the different types, and you can click on each one to sort of learn more about that, right? And then this is sort of the meat of our work in the past few months. We've started a fraud prevention ad campaign called 10 Billion Reasons. And it's called 10 Billion Reasons because the Federal Trade Commission, they're the federal agency who receives a lot of complaints and investigates a lot of fraud complaints. They reported that there were $10 billion in reported losses to fraud all across the United States in 2023. That is an incredible amount. That is very, very, very high. So in light of this, we wanted to take advantage of the summer season and people being out to get billboards out there. We've got ads in newspapers, on websites. We even have had ads in movie theaters during a time, and this ad campaign is slowly coming to a stop. We're ending it now in September, but the website will still be up. And I think what I'll do now is just walk us through the website briefly. Can you all see the website, or are you still seeing? Okay, perfect. Okay, so as we see here, we've got the website is going to be dfi.wa.gov/10B, 10B for 10 billion. So on our website, we've got a little blurb about protecting our financial future, and there are basically 3 main steps that we want people to educate themselves on in order to prevent fraud in our lives, right? The first step is going to be to identify, right? So on our identify landing page, we have a brief description about common scams, And then if you're interested in learning more about these scams, you can hit the Learn More button or press on the little panel, and that will take you to another website with more information on it. So for example, let's learn more about grandparent scams. So we see that once we press there, it opens up to the Federal Communication Commission's grandparent scam article, right? So they've got a lot more information. They've got a lot of good tips to help you avoid being scammed, like guides on spoofed caller IDs, robocalls, and resources for call blocking apps and services, as well as other websites like the Better Business Bureau and AARP, where you can track in live time sort of where scams are popping up, right? As well as information on how to file a complaint if this is a type of scam that has affected you. Okay, so that's the identification. We've got a lot of really good information on here. We really made a concerted effort to get the best information possible. So a lot of this is going to be from federally recognized partners. Okay, and then the second step is going to be prevention. Once we know what scams and frauds look like, then we can start taking steps to prevent being victimized by these frauds. So we've got a list of steps you can take. Of course, the first and foremost is going to be being suspicious of too good to be true offers, right? We all know that old saying, if it's too good to be true, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. We've got a variety of other tips for the average consumer. Once again, we're plugging our DFI Verify License button to ensure companies are authorized to conduct business in Washington as far as financial service providers. And then you can also sign up for DFI's consumer alerts, which will be periodic updates on what to look out for, what scams are becoming more prevalent, what companies we've investigated and believed to be involved in scams, among other things. All clear so far? Okay, good. And then finally, this last part is going to be reporting fraud. Now, I really like this webpage because, as I mentioned earlier, not all, well, let me restart that sentence. As I mentioned earlier, DFI's jurisdiction is limited to financial service providers in the state of Washington, right? So if you have a complaint, let's say against Chase Bank or Wells Fargo or something like that, that would be a national bank. So we don't really have jurisdiction over them. That would be our federal counterparts, right? So you'd have to file any complaint with them. So depending on the type of scam you want to report, the people you report to and the agencies you report to are going to vary, right? So for banking scams, we've got the DFI complaint form. In most cases, we'll be able to handle these sorts of complaints. And as I said, if not, we'll be able to redirect you to the agency that does manage those complaints. Please, Frederick.
Yeah, I know you mentioned if it's a federal scam, do you guys have like the point of contact you'd be able to provide to somebody asking that question?
Yeah. So the best thing, well, it really does depend, first of all, on what sort of scam it is. If it is a banking scam, then I believe that would be the Federal Trade Commission, if I'm not mistaken. They do a lot of scam prevention. If it is something like identity theft, once again, in this case, it would also be the Federal Trade Commission. They've developed this site called identitytheft.gov, which is sort of a branch off of theirs. So really, it does depend, but you can absolutely reach out to DFI and get that sort of information. Yeah, thank you for the question. So with identity theft, as I said, we've got identitytheft.gov, which is a fantastic resource. I try to plug this as often as I can. If your identity has been stolen, I would highly recommend going to this website. It's really great because they can create a recovery plan for you and kind of make a checklist basically of things that have to be done, as well as pre-populated letters to all of your creditors and banks explaining the situation in all of the legalese that maybe I would not be able to come up with, right? So it's a really fantastic tool to get that process started and to sort of try to regain control of our identity, right? We've got investments in cryptocurrency, which if it's here within Washington State, it would once again be the DFI complaint form. If you've been victimized through mail fraud, you would have to report that through the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. That's uspis.gov/report. And then technology scams such as the Internet Crime Compliance Center, ic3.gov. They collect information about technology scams. Other complaints would be through the Attorney General and the Federal Trade Commission, and then we've got additional tips. But I really appreciate this website just because it sort of puts it all into one easily accessible place where you don't have to Google and jump from one web page to another to another. We really wanted to streamline this so that it's easy for people to report scams and frauds. I see that we have a question here in the chat. So do you have a QR code for the flyers that you sent? I'm not sure what flyer that might be. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Would either Frederick?
I think it might be the poster. I think it might be the poster you showed, the 10 billion reasons one.
Okay. Well, in that case, it would just be
I think it's.
I don't have a QR code for it, but I will put the link here in the chat to the 10 billion reasons landing page. And that pretty much wraps up what we have on the 10B landing page. It is just sort of an introductory step to try to get people educated, to try to encourage people to report, because the truth of the matter is that if it's happened to me, it's very likely happened to many, many, many other people. So it's so important that we report these so that our local and federal partners can investigate and can alert other consumers of these risks. Do we have any questions so far? Any sort of clarification you would like or anything of the sort? Okay. All right. Okay. Groovy. Well, thank you all so much for your time. Once again, my name's Nathan Spiecker. You can feel free to reach out to me at, let's see, outreach@dfi.wa.gov. We're always available to answer questions. And once again, we've got this financial education request form, which I will drop here in the chat as well. And all right, I think that's time, is it?
Yes, I think you're doing your own closing almost, but I wanted to say thank you for your time. I know I learned a lot. I think it's an awesome resource that we have. And anyone, if Nathan's got time, has any questions, they want to talk to him, they could stay on real quick, maybe after that. Our next session in today's wellness fair is at 1:40, so it's starting here shortly in a couple minutes. And that is for a healthy relationship with food. But if you have any feedback, guys, I've posted the form in there that we'd like the feedback on, that you can do in there. Thanks again, Nathan. It was an awesome thing. I didn't know about that, so I mean, it definitely helps me. I think it was very well presented. Thank you very much.